a lot has happened in the past few days in Palestine. However, most of the reports that we watch on TV or we read on the internet, it lacks context. So in this video, I would like to give this conflict a little bit context so that we understand better the roots of the conflict. Because if we don't solve the root of the issue, you're not able to solve the current conflict in Palestine. First of all, since the Six-Day War in 1967, when Israel attacked Syria, Egypt, and Palestine, Israel has occupied a large swath of territories, including the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, and these both areas belong to Palestine. Since then, Israel was building settlements. Now, these settlements are illegal according to international law and according to every national law in Palestine as well. But most importantly, we have to go back to all the UN Security Council resolutions and to international law. These illegal settlements are being constructed on Palestinian territories where a state of Palestine should be declared. But because Israel is building illegal settlements there, it is actually putting obstacles in front of declaring a Palestinian state in order to have a two-state solution in Palestine. And these illegal settlements haven't stopped like in a few years. We all remember, for example, after the Oslo Accord in the 90s, when the Palestinians signed on an agreement with Israel. After that agreement, around 500,000 Palestinians were displaced, forcefully displaced from their homes, from their villages, from their farms, and they were replaced by settlers. And these settlers are mostly aren't indigenous people, like they weren't born and raised in, let's say, occupied Palestine or in Israel after its creation in the 1940s. No, these settlers came from the United States, from Poland, from Russia, from Ukraine, from Europe, and they were persecuted in one way or another, especially during World War II, and they traveled to Palestine when Israel was founded. So they're not indigenous people, and they are, let's say, one of the videos that I watched, one of the settlers' name is Jacob, and he's invading someone else's home, and he's talking to the owner of that home, which she's a woman, and the woman is telling him, Jacob, this is not your home. You cannot occupy it. And he's saying, if I don't take over this land, somebody else will take over this territory. So this is the mentality of the settler, because he knows if he comes to Palestine, he will have a piece of land. And if he doesn't take that piece of land, some other settler will come and take that piece of land, right? So do you understand this mentality, how it's going on? I will just give you an example. Like, if you're in Germany, let's say you're living in Stuttgart, in a village, small village or town, and a refugee from Syria comes to you and tells you, I escaped from persecution or war or etc., and I really need shelter. So, of course, because you're a humanitarian person, you give that person, let's say, a room in your apartment, or you help, let's say, a refugee camp in order for these guys to be settled, right? But after some time, this refugee, he invites his friend, and then 2 friends, and then 4, and then 5, and then 50, and then 100, and then 1,000, and then tens of thousands. And they start to kick you out from your own home and tell you, okay, now my Bible, which you don't believe in, it says that this home is mine. What would you do in this situation if I came to you as a refugee and told you, okay guys, your home, which you were born and raised and you inherited from your grandparents, who inherited from their grandparents and grandparents belong to mine because my Bible says it's mine. Under which pretext is this? Do we have an international law or not? Do we have national laws or not? So if not, then let's talk about if the Muslims have the right to occupy, let's say, Spain again, because it was part of their, at least southern Spain, their empire, right? So do we still respect international law or not? If we respect, then this is an illegal action, what the settlers are doing, and behind them, they would never do that without the full protection of the Israeli government, and especially now under Benjamin Netanyahu, who is a very racist, right-wing, fascist leader. And all the world knows about Bibi and his role in destabilization of the region. Now, recently, Israeli settlers attacked a neighborhood called Sheikh Jarrah in eastern Jerusalem, which is, according to international law, belongs to the Palestinians. And they want to kick out the Palestinians from their homes and from their farms, and they want to occupy it. And they are protected by the police, the Israeli police, and the settlers themselves. They are carrying guns. I'm not going to post videos now on this video that I'm making because of it's like copyrights are really ridiculous on YouTube. So just go on the internet and search. You're one click away from seeing that videos. They're really, really disgusting. They're coming to your home, they want to kick you out, and they want to sit in your home. That's what was happening on Palestinian territories. So if you follow the media, or most of the media outlets, especially in the West, there are stages that precedes the retaliation of the Palestinian factions against Israel. But they don't talk about it. They don't tell you that there were forced evictions of the people, which amounts to ethnic cleansing. They don't tell you that in the holy month of Ramadan, which is the most holy month for Muslims, the Israeli occupation forces were shooting rubber bullets, were shooting gas cannons in the Aqsa Mosque while the people were praying there. They don't tell you this stuff. They just start the reporting from, so this terrorist Hamas organization is firing. Yes, they are firing now, but before that, what happened? Are you gonna give this reportage a context? No, you're not giving it a context. You're just jumping over stages, and you're just saying. I was checking one of the German media outlets, and just check the difference between the reporting. So Israeli forces are flying warplanes over Gaza. This is the title. Israeli warplanes are flying over Gaza. They don't say that these warplanes killed over 10 children, kids, babies in Gaza. They don't tell you that. But they say they're flying. And then they say Hamas attacked Israel. Can you see the difference in reporting? I'm not giving any excuses to Hamas. I think if you follow my channel, you know my position well about Hamas and how much I criticized Hamas, and even I call them they betrayed Syria. And you will know later why I believe they betrayed Syria. So they don't tell you all of this. It's just like they want to portray you as if the Palestinians are some angry mobs and they want to just kill people. No, they don't also tell you that Palestinians are not only Muslims. Palestine is the birthplace of Jesus Christ, and Christianity started to spread from there, right? There are a lot of Christians there, and they are also living under occupation, Israeli occupation, and under apartheid system. Are we going to discuss that, or it's just like, oh, these anti-Semitic Arabs are... Do you even realize when you say anti-Semitic Arabs how ridiculous you are? Because Arabs are Semites themselves. I mean, like simplifying the narratives is insulting for our intelligence. They're just trying to simplify the issue in a way that you just see, oh, anti-Semitism, then we need to be with Israel. Anti-Semitism was in Europe, guys. The Holocaust that happened against the Jewish people happened in Europe, not in Palestine. The Jews who traveled to Palestine and escaped persecution, they were received there. But the former persecuted people are persecuting the Palestinians now. Do you think that's acceptable? On a geopolitical level, I want to mention something which is an important event happening. The Palestinians themselves were very divided in the past, at least 3 decades. Especially the Palestinian Authority that controls West Bank and Eastern. They don't control, theoretically control, because also they are under Israeli occupation, but it belongs to, let's say, the Palestinian Authority. And then Gaza Strip is for Hamas and Jihad, etc. So when an escalation happens, for example, in Gaza, Jerusalem and West Bank is always remain quiet. But now, when escalation happened in East Jerusalem, it was also the people in Gaza escalated the situation. So, in my opinion, like connecting these two regions, the West Bank and Gaza, is very important for national unity in Palestine. That we need always to mention this because of the previous divisions between the Palestinians. One important information that we need to know: in 2005, when the Syrian army withdrew from Lebanon, they had a very big stockpile there, and arm depots and artilleries, etc., etc. The Syrian army withdrew only a very small part of their weaponry from Lebanon, and they left all their weaponry for free to the Yellow Flag Party in Lebanon. And the Yellow Flag Party of Lebanon used these weapons against the Israeli invasion of Lebanon in 2006. And the Secretary General of the Yellow Flag Party talked and addressed this issue and said, most of the weapons and the missiles and the anti-tank rockets and anti-artillery rockets, etc., were all from the depots of the Syrian army. But after 2006, the Yellow Flag Party leader was talking to President Bashar al-Assad, and they addressed the issue of Gaza. And the Secretary General of the Yellow Flag Party asked President Assad if he has any objections for sending part of this weaponry to Gaza. And President Assad was wondering, are you able to deliver this weaponry to Gaza? And the answer was yes. So President Assad said, then I don't mind it. If they need it, I don't mind it, including Cornet anti-artillery or anti-tank missiles or rockets from the Syrian army depots. So imagine a lot of weaponry came to Gaza, which allowed the militant groups there to fight against Israel. And then when 2011 war erupted, Hamas chose to be with Turkey and Qatar against Syria. That's why it's really hard for the Syrians to forgive Hamas again. It's almost impossible for them to forgive, but that's not our topic today. We can talk about it later in a different video. Another thing is, just today I saw the militant groups in Gaza are showing off their drone technologies, which is, in my opinion, could be a game-changing weapon because they could be used as a kamikaze weapon. And the technology, it's obvious that it's from Iran. So the technology is from Iran, and they're like constructed in Gaza. Now you will say, so Kevork, so don't you, like, you're talking as if the Palestinians are saints and they haven't done anything. No, I just mentioned you, like, they have done also big mistakes. they were fighting each other, and they were infighting between the factions. They were lack of unity. But the biggest objection of mine is the Islamization of the Palestinian conflict. Like, summarizing the Palestinian conflict about Al-Aqsa Mosque is, in my opinion, ridiculous, because the issue of Palestine is a legal issue, it's a humanitarian issue. I'm Christian, and others are Christians. They're sympathizing with Palestine, not because it's only a holy land for Muslims and Christians and the Jews. No, it's because there is one party that is Israel, which is an occupation force, which is a colonial force, and they are occupying others' territories. So likewise, I express my solidarity with the Cubans. I don't have anything to do with the Cubans, but I express my solidarity with them because they are fighting against foreign imperialism and interventions. The same thing applies for Syria and Libya and etc. Islamization of the Palestinian conflict plays in the hands of Israel, because Israel wants to portray this issue as if it's some sort of a religious war, which is not. But if the Arabs Islamize the Palestinian issue, they give the perfect excuse for Israel to portray the conflict as a religious conflict, because in front of the Western audiences, knowing that most of the weapons and the money of Israel are coming from Western governments in forms of aid, nobody in Europe will sympathize with Palestinians. They will sympathize with the Jews because of the horrible history that the Jews were persecuted in Europe. So if any Palestinian friends are watching, don't summarize the Palestinian conflict as if it's some sort of an Islamic issue. It's not. It's a national issue, it's a territory issue, it's a humanitarian issue, and all people with different faiths and religions should sympathize with or express solidarity with the Palestinians until they have their own state. So this is most of the issues that were going on. A lot of developments will happen, of course, in the next few days. Unfortunately, I will be off because I have to fly in a business trip. So unfortunately, I will not be able to make a video for you next week, but I promise you when I come back to Berlin to make a follow-up video on this. One last thing, guys, I'm always checking the views on my channel and the statistics. Most of the views are coming from people who are not subscribed on Syrian analysis. It's a really strange for me. Please make sure that when you're watching this video, please check if you're subscribed. And if you're not, I invite you to subscribe. It's free, guys. It's not charged. But if you want to support Syrian analysis financially, I would really appreciate that. You can find all the details in the description below. The best way for me is through Patreon, which will only cost you $2 per month. But it makes a very big difference for me to continue working and also investing in my gears and softwares that I'm using in order to bring you a better content. You can also check my Facebook and Twitter accounts and see how the look and the content were really changed towards it changed to better content because of the softwares that I bought thanks to your financial support. And this was all for today, and we see you in the next video. Ciao.
Jacob, you know this is not your house.
Yes, but if I go, you don't go back. So what's the problem? What are you yelling at me? I didn't do this. I didn't do this.
But
It's easy to yell at me, but I didn't do this.
You are stealing my house.
And if I don't steal it, someone else is going to steal it.
No one is allowed to steal it, يا عمي.
זה לא שלי להחזיר.
וזה, בוא נגיד שזה יש.